The first warning arrived on a cold night over the Pacific. Astronomers at the Kepler array detected a ripple in the darkness, a trembling shimmer that slithered across deep space like a wounded serpent. The signal wasn't made of sound, but of distortion itself, bending reality into glitching waves that made screens crackle, lights flicker, and satellites fall silent. People on Earth felt it too. Dreams became infected by strange angles and impossible shapes, as if geometry itself had turned hostile. Phones buzzed with ghost images, reflections that stared back with unfamiliar eyes. By the second night, the message had become clear. Something alien was leaking into our universe and bringing nightmares with it. No one could understand it, no one except Earth's most unexpected defenders. A group of underfunded, over-caffeinated human engineers from a workshop that smelled like old solder, instant noodles, and stubborn hope. Meanwhile, in the depths of interstellar space, a civilization known as the Vortai watched Earth with both awe and terror. The Vortai had seen this phenomenon before. They called it the null sur, the collapse of alien technology infected by a malignant cosmic entropy. Every time a species built advanced tech without the right safeguards, the surge consumed it, warping machines, minds, and eventually reality itself. Entire worlds had fallen. But the Vortai's ancient archives whispered a rumor, a wild, impossible story about one primitive species that had accidentally invented the perfect countermeasure. A species whose messy, unpredictable minds made them uniquely immune to the surge. A species whose technology worked not because it was perfect, but because it was gloriously, wonderfully flawed. They were called humans. When the Vortai ships finally entered Earth's orbit, humanity braced for invasion. Instead, the aliens showed up wearing containment armor covered in warning symbols, clutching malfunctioning devices that screamed like mechanical banshees. And they said something that would echo across the ages. "We need your help." The Vortai expected Earth's military, scientists, and intellectual elites. Instead, they were taken to a cluttered garage in Nevada, where a small group of self-taught engineers worked beside a 3D printer that rattled like an asthmatic robot. These humans called themselves the Fixers. And the leader, Mia Torres, was a woman who believed every machine had a soul, and most of them were simply having a bad day. The Vortai presented the infected device, a shimmering cube of living circuitry that pulsed like a nervous heart. Its edges twisted, unfolding into patterns that defied physics. Even turned off, it hummed with the faint echo of a scream. The Fixers stared at the cube with fascination, not fear. To them, it looked like a glorified motherboard, having an existential crisis. "What do you need from us?" Mia asked, wiping engine grease off her cheek. The Vortai engineer Voran explained through trembling limbs. "Our technology is collapsing into nightmare forms. The surge has infected our fleet, our infrastructure, even our AI. Only your kind has the unique mental irregularity to stabilize it." The Fixers exchanged looks. "Did he just call us mentally irregular?" whispered Jard. "Yes," Mia said proudly, "and apparently that's our superpower." The Vortai didn't understand why human tech was so resistant. But the truth was simple. Human systems were patched, repatched, duct-taped, zip-tied, rebooted, cursed at, prayed over, ignored, kicked, repaired with spare parts from unrelated appliances, and somehow still functioned. This unpredictable chaos created noise, beautiful, stabilizing noise, that blocked the null surge. It was like trying to infect a bowl of spaghetti with perfect geometric corruption. The result was just spaghetti. Mia circled the alien cube thoughtfully. "You built this with perfect crystalline logic," she said. "That's the problem. Perfection breaks. Chaos survives." The Vortai stared at her as if she had spoken an ancient truth lost for millennia. Thus, humanity began its most unlikely mission, saving an advanced alien civilization using hot glue, borrowed components, and ancient human wisdom dating back to the dawn of frustration. Turn it off and on again. The fixers boarded the Vortai flagship essence of order. A ship so clean, so smooth, so technologically perfect that stepping inside felt like entering a meditation chamber designed by obsessive robots. It was also falling apart. Panels flickered into fractal nightmares, walls rippled like liquid metal, and corridors twisted into shapes that defied Euclidean geometry. Even the ship's AI spoke in broken, glitching voices, repeating fragments of forgotten fears. The fixers reacted in typical human fashion. "Yeah, this reminds me of my old Windows laptop," Jard muttered. Mia cracked her knuckles. "Let's fix your haunted spaceship," she said. They analyzed the corrupted systems and quickly found the root of the issue. The Vortai had built everything on a perfectly synchronized quantum lattice. One flaw, one microsecond delay, one unexpected variable, and the entire system spiraled into collapse. Humans, on the other hand, had spent generations building technology that embraced failure. A human-made system wasn't a perfect chain. It was a tangled web of redundancies and backup paths designed because humans expected things to break. And that expectation was their salvation. Mia proposed a radical solution. "Your whole operating system is too perfect. You need noise, randomness, unpredictability. You need humanity." Vorin was horrified. "You want us to contaminate our sacred technology with disorder." Mia shrugged. "Chaos isn't contamination. It's adaptability." They built a hybrid stabilization module, a system that deliberately introduced controlled flaws, microdelays, jitter, and randomized feedback loops. In other words, they made the alien system operate like a slightly sleep-deprived human engineer with a questionable power supply. When they plugged it in, the ship screamed. Then it sighed. Then it stabilized. Panels shifted back to normal geometry, lights stopped flickering, and the AI spoke with newfound clarity. System integrity restored. The Vortai realized something profound. For centuries, they had pursued perfect order, believing harmony came from symmetry, clarity, and optimization. But humans taught them the opposite. Sometimes, the universe was saved by imperfection. The victory was short-lived. The Nullex surge retaliated. Not maliciously, it was alive, but like a storm protecting its territory. The stabilized systems attracted the surge's attention, and soon every ship in the Vortai fleet began emitting distress signals. The nightmare circuitry spread across the armada, warping thousands of vessels into impossible shapes. Mia and her team worked around the clock, but exhaustion began to take its toll. Eyes reddened, hands shook, voices cracked. "We can't fix an entire civilization from one ship," Mia admitted. "We need a universal patch." The Vortai had never created anything universal. Their systems were too perfect, too specialized, too refined. Humanity, however, had invented something ancient and mighty, a force that transcended cultures, languages, and generations. A force known as the software update. The fixers created a chaos stabilization protocol, essentially a cosmic-scale patch that introduced controlled human-style unpredictability into every Vortai device. But to deploy it, they had to reach the surge's origin point, a swirling vortex outside normal space where corrupted technology dissolved into nightmares. The Vortai called it the Abyss Engine. Humans called it the Great Cosmic Error Message. The journey there was a gauntlet of glitch storms and reality distortions. Ships around them twisted, melted, froze, and flickered like broken holograms. The fixers held the ship together using whatever they could find, spare cables, welding torches, duct tape, zip ties, stubbornness, hope, and sheer human refusal to let the universe misbehave. Finally, they reached the Abyss engine, a swirling storm of broken logic and fractured reality. It roared with the agony of collapsing civilizations. Mia stood before it, unflinching. "Let's update the universe," she whispered. They deployed the patch. The engine screamed as human chaos flooded it. Not destruction, but liberation. Not corruption, but unpredictability. Not infection, but resilience. The surge shattered like glass struck by a hammer. And the galaxy breathed again. With the surge destroyed, the Vortai rebuilt their civilization under a new philosophy. Order was no longer sacred. Perfection was no longer worshipped. Balance between structure and chaos, logic and creativity, became their new guiding principle. The Fixers returned to Earth as heroes, though most people never learned the truth. The official report simply stated that a deep space engineering consultation had occurred. Mia kept the alien cube as a souvenir, now stabilized and harmless. She used it as a paperweight. The Vortai, meanwhile, transformed their entire society. Their architecture became fluid and adaptive, their AI developed personalities, their starships included controlled randomness in their systems. They even introduced the concept of scheduled coffee breaks, which quickly became a cultural treasure. Eventually, the Vortai created a monument, a massive crystalline structure carved with two words that had saved their civilization. Two words whispered across the stars with awe, gratitude, and a small hint of disbelief. "Thank you, humans." Humanity had always been told their technology was messy, flawed, inconsistent, and unpredictable. But in a universe threatened by rigid, collapsing perfection, it was precisely that unpredictability that brought survival. Alien tech nightmares had nearly consumed the stars. And humans, brilliant, chaotic, stubborn humans, had the solution. A solution born not from perfection, but from the beautiful resilience of imperfection.